Hello everybody, it's Andrew Hutchings here, and while I've been attempting to make a video on a certain subject, and it's difficult to get it into a short, concise, to-the-point video, I think I figured out something else I can make a video on, not fitness related. I mean, it could be actually, it applies to everything when people try to convince other people of things. Probably it's been like this forever, basically, So let's make a situation. You have person A who is super knowledgeable, person B who is not really knowledgeable. Person A is not a big talker, doesn't like to talk a lot, doesn't have the biggest vocabulary, doesn't try to speak eloquently, doesn't use big fancy words. Person B, on the other hand, they study their whole life to speak well, use lots of fancy words, and sound really good. You got both people talking about a certain subject in fitness, and you got an audience. The audience is going to hear person B and go, well, he sounds really good, he must know what he's talking about. Like, person A doesn't sound that good, blah, blah, blah. And then if, like, person A disagrees with person B is going to out-talk person A. It's not that person B is right. They're just winning the talking battle. And that's actually something that really bothers me, because people don't seem to understand that it doesn't matter how well you talk about something. It doesn't matter how good you look when you talk about it. None of that matters. What matters is, are you right or are you wrong? Sorry, I should have gone, are you right or are you wrong, because person B was wrong. And it's sad. It's on all levels of life. Online comments on internet, in person talking with people, everywhere. Most people, if they hear two people discussing something, are going to assume that the person who talks better and looks better is correct. And sadly, certain people spend their whole life focusing on how to talk better, how to write better. Yeah, it's good. Perhaps I should do that more. Perhaps other people should do that more. But more normal people aren't so obsessed with convincing people of things when they're wrong. Normal people, most people also don't have a hobby of doing that stuff, of practicing and learning better writing and speaking skills. Yeah, some people, it's just like their biggest goal in life to be able to convince everybody of everything and speak really well. And sadly, they don't tend to be the best of people. You got the people that just want to mind their own business, live their own life, be happy. They'll speak the truth about something. And then you got the other people who spend their whole life practicing outspeaking other people. And then when a big audience sees them, they think that the person who does not actually know what they're talking about but talks really well is the one who's correct. So look out for that. Make sure you don't fall prey to that. It also applies to how somebody looks. It's just natural. Yeah, when you are listening to two people discuss something, you really need to be able to filter out how somebody talks, how they look, and look at the pure information. Now, sadly, if someone talks really poorly, it can be difficult to see what that information is, because if they're really poor at explaining things, they're probably not even putting the information forward. Someone can be an absolute genius on something, but if they simply don't tell you about it, instead they just tell you it, but not about it, it sounds like they just made it up, because they're not telling you all the details of it. Whereas the person who practices speaking does not even know what it is, and they just memorize all these pointless details, but like, oh yeah, they said all these things, and I mean, it sounds really good. It's kind of like my videos. I've done this to just be more genuine, and because that's how I am, but like, I don't dress up, I don't make sure my hair looks nice, I don't make sure I shave or something, I don't make sure of anything. I don't make sure I just talk a certain way, look a certain way, nothing. Have a certain background. I don't care about that stuff. I probably should care about it more and put the effort into it, but it's not so much even about putting effort into it. It's just not how I am. I'm not trying to convince you by how I look, how I speak, what my background's like, my image quality. I'm just putting the information out there, good information, and lucky you if you take that information in and benefit yourself with it. Yeah. I'm sure I would have a lot more viewers and seem a lot more credible if, like, I wore a suit, made sure I had a professional looking background, uh, cut my hair, made sure I shaved each time, or do the common thing in the like fitness and actor community where you have just the right amount of stubble. Maybe put some minoxidil on your face to get like perfect beard growth and like practice. So I don't have quite enough, I think. But you know what I mean? How a lot of these people that are focused on appearance, they make sure they have the perfect stubble. So yeah, just be aware of that. Because when you're aware of the tricks, you don't fall prey to them. Like, I studied hypnosis and subliminal hypnosis for years, like as soon as I got a computer. So maybe from like the ages of, I don't know, 10 to 13, 10 to 14, 9. Actually, I may have started studying it before I got a computer because my PSP could access the internet. But yeah, I started learning about it at an early age, and it allowed me to notice all the stuff in our media and our schools, all the work that goes into carefully crafting it, because there is so much that goes into everything. Some people are incredibly ignorant, are like, no, that's just how it is. It's just like, you think people are actually planning? Yeah, they are. They are literally hiring teams of people to plan out every detail of what you see and hear and what you don't even realize you see and hear. Um, Not quite the same kind of stuff that I'm talking about, but also just the planning that these people do to put into things. For example, think back to a few years ago, before this pandemic. There was what would you call it? There was a internet trend of making fun of people who didn't like vaccines. And the news was publishing lots of stories about diseases that should have been eradicating popping up because people weren't getting vaccinated. There were lots of internet jokes about how these anti-vax parents' kids like wouldn't even survive until first grade. Like, I don't remember all the meme jokes, but perhaps you do. Like, there were a lot of them. And what do you know? Like, a year later, there's this pandemic, and there's these vaccines that a lot of people don't want to take, and people trying to force it on everybody. And most people probably forgot about that whole anti-vax making fun of the internet movement that happened like a year before. Perhaps it's coincidence, but I think it's very likely, given how much effort people put into controlling the world, that they plan that out to prime you to it, get it in your subconscious. That way, when this happens, you already have that mindset of people who don't like vaccines are stupid. Like, what a joke! You don't believe in science. And by the way, about the vaccines, there's one key thing. Vaccines, the theory of vaccines, and most vaccines we use, they are good. Now, when you take something and you call it a vaccine, but it's not a vaccine, well, it's a different thing. Just because you call it a vaccine does not make it like the other vaccines that are good. And other vaccines may not have been so good if they were just like, oh, develop, let's give it to everyone now. Like, why do we need to test it? We can just give it to everybody. No need to see what happens 3 months down the line, 6 months down the line, a year, 2, 3, 10 down the line. Let's just give it to everybody. Yeah, but I'm not going to get into that stuff. Yeah, the current vaccines are nothing like normal vaccines in so many different ways. Yeah, I've gotten tired of even trying to argue with people because it's like they think it's just a battle of who can type more eloquently, and I don't care about that. Like, I can type eloquently, but I abhor that. I abhor that when I went to university, I could actually get horrible grades on my chemistry lab work because I didn't make it into a fairy tale novel. Whereas I did everything perfect, got the best results of the class, whereas other kids, they could like have no idea what they're doing, barely finish the lab given 4 or 5 hours, whereas it takes like 30 minutes to an hour, and I did it really good. And they like, who knows what kind of results they even got at, because like it took them like 4 or 5 hours to maybe figure out what takes half an hour to an hour. Like, they probably made a lot of mistakes. Not probably, I know they made a lot of mistakes. I often helped people, but they write about it really good and they got better grades than me. It's crazy. It's just all about your breath. And it shouldn't be. And it's important to be able to clearly communicate, but it's not a battle of who can say it better. It's what is true and what's not true. Yeah, but I got tired of it, and now I just call people stupid, which sadly, when you do that, people go, oh, well, see, you said that he's stupid, which means that you're wrong. It's like, no, I'm right. I'm just tired of dealing with stupid people.